The rain didn't slow down voters today, many turning out for key races, including the battle for state school superintendent. 2 News bringing you live team coverage of Oklahoma's general election.
And the candidates go head to head to see who gets to live in the governor's mansion. We'll have the results scrolling at the bottom of your screen.
Now the race for school superintendent, one of the most watched races in the Sooner State.
And a little more than an hour ago, Democrat John Cox conceded to Republican Joy Hoffmeister. She carried a little more than 50% of the vote tonight.
2 News reporter Liz Bryant live in Oklahoma City tonight with more on the race for us. Liz?
Good evening, Russ and Karen. A roller coaster of emotions for Joy Hoffmeister this entire day. Joy, when the MC introduced you just about 10 minutes ago as the new state superintendent, you gasped. Put your hand over your heart.
It has been a very long journey, one that really started 3 years ago when I became a State Board of Education member. And we've come to a place now where the voters have spoken. Now it's time for us to unite and continue to stand with our parents, with our teachers, to get solutions for kids.
But is this a real moment? You're the new state superintendent.
Yes, I did not expect that we would have the results this soon, and it is, frankly, I don't feel like I've even had time to process this.
Exactly.
But I know we have a lot of work to do, but we have great people in Oklahoma and great people standing with me, and we're going to get it done.
For every mother and father with a child in an Oklahoma school watching this as we speak, campaign promises aside, what are your priorities? What can you assure them?
We're going to reduce the high stakes nature of our tests so that we have more time instruction and less time testing. And then we're going to work so that we have higher teacher compensation, and then we've got to have high standards and make it so that our teachers are able to teach. Get government out of the way and let them teach.
At 8, I want to read you this. When Dr. John Cox conceded, he blessed you. He said, God give Joy Hoffmeister strength, leadership.
Oh.
Would you consider him for any office under you?
You know, we will work together. I'll tell you, John Cox and I traveled all over the state for over a year. And I know his heart, and he cares deeply about the education of the children of Oklahoma. I know we'll be working together. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Karen and Russ, back to you live in Oklahoma City.
Thank you, Liz. Now, Dr. Cox ran a tough campaign against Hoffmeister, but the Peg school superintendent came up short tonight. 2 News reporter Joe Hankey is live in Muskogee at his watch party for us. Joe?
Well, Karen, Joy Hoffmeister jumped out to an early lead as soon as the votes started coming in tonight, and she never looked back. But the mood here at Malon's Barbecue in Muskogee remained positive for most of the night at John Cox's watch party. Now, the crowd here spilled into several rooms, and throughout the night, Cox continued to move around the restaurant, addressing the crowd. He introduced his family several times and thanked supporters, and remained optimistic he would be the next state superintendent. But as the results made it clear he would finish in second, Cox conceded, but made it clear he remains focused on improving education here in Oklahoma.
This has never been about John Cox being state superintendent. This has really been what can we do best for our children and really improve public education. And so I just want to say right now, I appreciate the race that we've had with all the other candidates, and we really need to unite behind Joy Hoffmeister and get out there and fight for public education.
Now, Cox says he is a superintendent and lifelong educator. He added he is not walking away from education, as it is where his heart is. At the end of his speech, he said he will remain focused on the state superintendent office during the next 4 years. And as you just heard Liz talking with Joy Hoffmeister there live, she said she would look forward to working with Cox in the future. He said he does want to remain focused on improving education around the whole state, so they might need to have a future conversation there to see how they can work together. Live in Muskogee tonight, Joe Hankey, 2 News works for you.
All right, Joe, thanks. Governor Mary Fallin not packing her bags anytime soon. She defeats Democrat candidate Joe Dorman and 2 independent candidates to stay in the governor's mansion for a second term. Fallin retaining her role as governor with 56% of the vote. We brought you her victory speech live about an hour ago. 2 News reporter Max Resnick joins us now live in Oklahoma City. He is at the watch party, and he has the governor. Max, take it away.
Russ, good evening. Governor Fallin, good evening. Congratulations, a 12-point victory for you. Certainly within what the polls figured. How does it feel, first of all, to retain your seat?
Well, it's been a great race, a very energetic race, important discussion about many issues that are facing the state of Oklahoma, and it feels wonderful. I've had a great time campaigning across the state of Oklahoma, and just very grateful for people's support tonight. Got a lot of work still to do, We've been able to turn Oklahoma's economy around. When I talked a lot on the campaign that 4 years ago we had gone through a national recession, we were broke, we had a high unemployment rate. Now we have the fourth fastest growing economy in the nation, a lower unemployment rate, and we have over $500 million in savings. Been able to put new funding back into education over the last 2 years as we turn the economy around, and I hope to continue focusing on education standards, focusing on growing Oklahoma's economy, and certainly right-sizing state government.
You mentioned spending on education. The Center for Budget and Policy says Oklahoma still ranks last over the last 6 years in education spending. Is there going to be something different that we see in the next 4 years? Are we going to bump that up?
Well, I think a lot of people came to understand that you can't spend money you don't have, and when our state had gone through the national recession with the prior governor, and education funding was cut back prior to me coming into office. So I had to build Oklahoma's economy up, create jobs so we could generate revenue to put towards education. And under my leadership, education has received the largest funding increase of any state agency, over $180 million in the last 2 years. So as long as I can keep this economy growing strong, and I believe it's going to be going strong, then we'll be able to put more funding back to teacher salaries and be able to continue to work on those high academic standards, working with our new superintendent of education. My husband and I have 6 children between us, and so we are dedicated, committed to education because we know how important it is to our children's future and all Oklahoma families too.
Governor Mary Fallin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations. Russ and Karen, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Max. Now, the governor's challenger, Democrat Joe Dorman, fought a hard uphill race for the governor's mansion, but the state representative lost in the end. 2 News anchor Stephen Romo following Dorman today. He joins us live from his watch party.
Yes, Karen, we're here at the watch party, and people here remained what I would like to call sort of cautiously optimistic, even seeing the polls where Dorman continued to trail behind Mary Fallin pretty much for a large portion of the race, though. The candidate himself, though, was telling me tonight that he thinks the Democratic Party did make some progress tonight. He was saying that he after he thanked his family and supporters, he says that we haven't seen the last of him. He also says that he thinks the race helped shift the conversation.
We were successful in shaping the message to improve education in Oklahoma. We've seen the discussion now for a teacher pay raise, improving the standards, not using the nationalized standards. Certainly demanding more opportunities for teachers. We've got to improve our education in the state if we want to get off the bottom of all these lists.
Now, I asked Joe about his future. He says public service is in his blood, so you can expect him to run for other public office in the future. He also says he's going to finish his education going for a doctorate, so he says you haven't seen the last of him. Reporting live in Oklahoma City, Stephen Romo, 2 News works for you.
All right, Stephen, thanks. Congressman James Lankford will stay in Washington, but he's not going to be returning to the House. Lankford will finish out Senator Tom Coburn's term.
Lankford defeats Democrat Connie Johnson with a very strong showing tonight, 68% of the vote. 2 News reporter Nathan Edwards is live at Lankford's campaign party in Oklahoma City for us. Nathan?
Guys, I'm live with Senate-elect James Lankford. First off, congratulations. Now, you have a long road ahead of you here the next couple months, getting ready to planning for your next term in office. Now, what does this win mean tonight for you and the Republican Party?
Yeah, it's obviously very humbling for myself and my family to have this many thousands of people say, yes, we trust you, go get the job done. So for us, that's the first things first. Let's go get the job done. So we got to work on staff issues, committee assignments, all those things we'll get started on tomorrow. And still have to finish up my housework the next 2 months, be sworn in the 6th of January and be able to get started on there officially. But we've got a lot of organization to do in the next couple of weeks.
What are some of the hot issues you plan on tackling once you enter office?
Same things I worked on in the House. Budget issues are huge. We still have to get the deficit down, start paying down our debt. That means greater government accountability. So I've worked a lot on the oversight issues. We have a lot of duplication in government, some basic elements. We can't just throw money away. We have a lot of defense issues we have to deal with ISIS. And so we've got to address our government spending problems so we can actually spend the money on the things we should spend it on, like national defense.
Now, how do you make the transition from Congress over to the Senator?
Yeah, we'll just load up everything on a hand truck and just haul it over the other side, I guess. But no, it's for us, the issue is really work on the same issues, different level of staffing, different level of structure, but it's the same issues we're going to work on before.
Are there any issues that you're going to tackle on behalf of Oklahomans more than any other?
Yeah, we have a lot of energy issues, a lot of environmental issues dealing with. Our agriculture industry folks will tell you, Waters of the U.S. rule the Obama administration is rolling out is a huge takeover of a lot of land. We have to have that resolved and have that set aside or we're about to have the administration take over a lot of the land rights in Oklahoma.
All right, well, thank you very much. Again, this is Senate-elect James Lankford reporting live tonight in Oklahoma City. Nathan Edwards, 2 News works for you.
All right, Nathan, thanks. GOP Congressman Markwayne Mullin reelected for a second term in District 2. He takes 70% of the vote, defeating Democrat Earl Everett as well as independent candidate John Douth. Now, Everett of Fort Gibson died just 2 days before the election. The 81-year-old was in a car accident last Friday in Fort Gibson. Well, voters sending U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe back to Washington for his 4th full term. He soundly defeated Democrat Matt Silverstein and independents Aaron DeLozier and Ray Woods and Joan Farr. 2 News reporter Will Dupree joins us now live after speaking to the state's senior U.S. Senator about the victory tonight. Will?
Well, hey, Russ, Senator Jim Inhofe celebrated another easy victory tonight, securing another full term in the U.S. Senate, actually his 4th. Now, when he plans to go back to Washington in January, Senator Inhofe says he has several priorities. Those include rebuilding the military, rolling back regulation from the EPA, and ending what he calls the president's on fossil fuels. Senator Inhofe says he's confident that Republicans can even pull some Democrats over to work with them against the president.
Well, we're going to have to rely on Democrats to override his vetoes, and that, I can tell you right now, remember, you heard it here first, and that's what's going to happen. We're going to be able to.
The senior senator also congratulated his new counterpart in the Senate from Oklahoma, James Lankford. Now, coming up later in this newscast, we're going to tell you what Senator Inhofe told me about the new senator-elect. Live in Oklahoma City, Will Dupree, 2 News works for you.
Thank you, Will. And we have posted complete election results for you on KGRH.com and our 2 News mobile app.